Hello viewers, welcome to EduTube. In this lesson, we are going to learn multiplication of decimals. That is, we are going to learn how to multiply a whole number with a decimal number. Likewise, we are going to learn how to multiply a decimal number with a decimal number. Now, let's see our first example for this lesson. 36 times 1.4. 36 times 1.4. 36 is our multiplicand and 1.4 is our multiplier. Now, 36 times 1.4, to solve this problem, the first thing we will need to consider is the place value of the decimal number, which is 1.4. 1.4 is our multiplier, likewise is the decimal number in this problem. So we'll consider the decimal place of 1.4. Now, what's a decimal place? A decimal place is the numbers of digits that you can count before a decimal point. So in this decimal number, we have just one decimal place because we can count just one digit before the decimal point. Now, I haven't identified the decimal place, which is one decimal place. The next thing we will now do to solve this problem is to arrange the multiplicand and the multiplier in columns like the regular multiplication. That is 36 times 1.4. Don't forget, 36 is our multiplicand and 1.4, which is now 1.4, is our multiplier, our 14. Now, we've ignored the decimal point. We will circle back to that. Now, so we are multiplying 36 and 14, ignoring the decimal point. So we'll start from the unit, which is this 4. We multiply 4 by 6. Likewise, we multiply 4 by 3. That means 4 times 36 together. So 4 times 6, that gives us 24. So I'm going to write my 4 and carry up 2. And then 4 times 3, that will give me 12. I'm going to add my 12 to this 2, and that will give me what? 15. 4 times 3, 12, and then I'm going to add my 2 to it, and that will give me what? 14 rather. So 4 times 36, I have 144. Now I'm done with 4, which is the unit. So I'm going to 1, which is the tens. So I'm likewise going to use 1 to multiply the two number above, the multiplicand. So I'll go like this, I'll go across and then come back to this side. So, but before I do that, I'm going to place an arrow down here to show that I'm not filling this unit point, this unit spot. So 1 times 6, that will give me 6. Instead of writing the 6 here, I've replaced that with an arrow. So I'm going to write the 6 right at the bottom of 1 because it is a tens place value. So 1 times 6, that will give me what? 6. And then 1 times 3, that will give me what? 3. So I'm going to write it right below here. So 3. So basically 1 times 36 give me what? 36, starting from under 1. Now, the next thing we'll now do, having multiplied 14 by 36, is to add the numbers we have in layers together. At the top layer, we have 144, and at the bottom layer, we have 36. So, and then for 4 here, which is the unit, we have nothing below it, so we are going to write 4 with an arrow pointing down here. Then 4 plus 6, that will give us 10, so I'm going to write 0 and carry up 1 up here. So I'm going to add 1 plus 3, that will give me 4. 4 plus this 1, and that will give me what? 5. So I'm going to write 5 down here. So I have 504. But am I done? No. Now, the one decimal place we identified in the decimal number is now going to be put into use. Now, since we have one decimal place, so we go back to our answer, which is 504. We count one decimal place from our unit, that is 1. 1. You count from your right side to your left side. Left, so 1. So our point will stay here. That is one decimal place. You can see we are leaving just one digit behind because we have one decimal place. So our final answer is 50.4. So basically 36 times 1.4 will give us what? 50.4. Now example number 2. Example number 2 follows the same pattern. So we have a decimal number multiplying a decimal number. Like we did in the first example, the first thing you do is to identify your place, your decimal place. So in the multiplicand, we have one decimal place, which is just these 3. Don't forget, a decimal place is the numbers of digits that we can count before the decimal point. So we have just one digit here, so meaning we have one decimal place before the point. And then in the multiplier, we have also one decimal place before the point. So one decimal place in the multiplier plus one decimal place in the multiplicand, that makes it how many? 2 decimal place. So in the two numbers, we have 2 decimal place. Now we'll circle back to the 2 decimal places. So the next thing we now do is to arrange the two numbers, the multiplicand and the multiplier, in column, like our regular multiplication, disregarding the decimal point without adding the decimal point. So we start from the unit, which is this 5. We use our unit, which is this 5, to multiply 263 and arrange it at the top here. So let's do that. So 5 times 3, that gives us what? 15. I will write my 5 below 5, then I will carry 1 up here. Then 5 times 6, that will give me 30. I will add this one to the 30. 30 plus 1, that gives me what? 31. So I'll write 1 and carry 3 because I still have a number at the front. So 5 times 2, that will give me 10. I will add my 10 to the 3 and that will give me what? 13. Now that I have no number at the front anymore to multiply, so I'll basically write my 13. So 5 times 263 gives me 1,315. Then I will go to my tens, to these 2 here. So I'm going to use 2 likewise to multiply 263. So at this unit, I'm going to place an arrow down here to fill this spot. So now I'm going to use my 2 to multiply 263 like we did for 5. So 2 times 3 will give us 6. The 6 will come right under 2, which is a tens place value. So 2 times 3 will give me 6. I'm going to arrange it down under here, 6. And then 2 times 6, that will give me 12. Remember, we have used this one, so we are not adding this one. So 2 times 6, that will give me 12. So I'm going to write 2 and carry up 1 to the next number. So then 2 times 2, that will give me 4. 4 plus this one, and that will give me 5. So 2 times 263 gives me 526. Okay, so the next thing we now need to do is to add the layers of numbers. So 5 will give us 5. 1 plus 6, that will give us 7. 3 plus 2, that will give us 5, and 1 plus 5, that will give us what? 6. Now, circling back to the decimal places that we counted. Remember, we counted 2 decimal places, so we are going to count 2 decimal places on our final answer. So, counting 2 decimal places means we are leaving 2 digits behind. So, we have 1, 2 decimal places. So, I'll place my point here. So, meaning that our final answer is 65.75. Now let's see our third example. Our third example says 202.45 times 5.5. 2.45 times 5.5. As you can see, in our multiplicand 2.45, we have 2 decimal places. And then in our multiplier 5.5, we have 1 decimal places. So 2 decimal places plus 1 decimal places, we have what? 3 decimal places. Then to now multiply the 2 numbers, we arrange them in column, ignoring the decimal point. So which is 245 multiplied by 55. Now we start from our unit, which is 5 here, down here. So 5 times 5, that gives us what? 25. So I will write my 5 and carry up what? 2. And then 5 times 4, that gives me 20. 20 plus this 2, that gives me what? 22. So I'll write my 2 and raise up 2, carry up 2 to the next number. Then 5 times 2, that gives me 10. 10 plus 2, that gives me what? 12. So I'm going to write my 2. Then there is no other number up front to carry up my 2, to carry up my 1. So I'm going to write the 1 just in front. So 5 times 2, 10. 10 plus 2, that gives me what? 12. So basically, 5 times 245 gives me 1,225. Now I'm done with this 5. I move on to this next 5 in tens place value. Now, for this unit, I'm going to place an arrow down here because you are now working with tens place value. So 5 times 5, 25. I will write my answer right under our 5. So I'll write 5 and carry what? 2. So 5 times 4, that will give me 20. 20 plus 2, that will give me what? 22. So I'll write my 2 and then carry my 2 to the next number. Then 5 times 2, that gives me 10. 10 plus 2, that will give me what? 12. So I'll write my 2 and then write my 1 because there is no number ahead to carry my 1 over to. So 5 times 245 still gives me what? 1225. Now the next thing is to add together the layers of number. So 5 comes down here. 2 plus 5, that gives me 7. 2 plus 2, that gives me 4. 1 plus 2, that gives me 3. And 1 plus nothing, that gives me 1. Now, we've gotten our answer, but this isn't our final answer. Remember, we counted decimal places because you are multiplying decimal number. So how many decimal places do we have? We have 3 decimal places, which basically means from our unit to the front, from our unit up to the largest place value, we are going to leave behind 3-digit numbers, which is 1, 2, 3, and place our point. So 3 decimal places have been left. So meaning that our final answer is 13.475. 13.475. Now, our last example number 4, which is 1.08 times 36. 1.08 times 36. In this regard, we have only a decimal number in our multiplicand, so which is just 2 decimal places. So we have 2 decimal places because we can count 2 digits before the point, regardless of whether the number is 0. So we have 2 decimal places here, which is this and this. Now we arrange the number in column like the regular multiplication. So 108 times 36, ignoring the decimal point. So we multiply from our unit. 6 times 8, that gives us 48. I will write my 8 and carry my 4 to the next number. Then 6 times 0, that gives me 0. I will add my 0 to the 4 I carried over, and that will give me 4. Then 6 times 1, that will give me what? 6. So I will circle this 4 to show that I've used it. Now, I'm moving to 3, which is in tens place value. So before I move to 3, I'll draw an arrow on the units place value, under the unit place value. So I will do 3 times 8, 24. My answer will be written just right at the bottom of 3 because we are working with tens place value. So 3 times 8, 24. So I'll write my 4 and carry 2 to the next number, which is 0. Then 3 times 0, that gives me 0. 0 plus 2, that gives me what? 2. So I'll write my 2 at the front. Then 3 times 1, that gives me what? 3. So I'll put my plus and add my layers of numbers together. So 8 and 4 plus 4, 8, and 6 plus 2, 8, and then 3 plus nothing, 3. Now you go back to the decimal places that we counted. We add 2 decimal places from 1.08. So we leave behind 2 digits of numbers, which is the unit and the 10. So place my point here. That's 2 decimal places, 1, 2. So place my point here. So our final answer is 38.88. And that is that about multiplication of decimal number. Thank you for watching. If you are new to this channel, please kindly click on the subscription button below this video to get notified of more academic lessons like this, and of course subsequent video after this. And if you are a returning subscriber, we say a big thank you for your love and support always. I'll see you in the next lesson.